Okay, we're recording and ready to go here. So thank you guys for joining me the week after spring break. So hopefully you're up and haven't got too comfortable sleeping in. I know I had a good spring break. I hope you guys did too. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going over population pyramids. And so basically they're a graph that I'm going to show you how to kind of visually see, and it creates trends of what populations are throughout the world. And this has actually been quite a bit of big discussion with quite a few people that are worried about population. Everybody was worried about population increase, and a lot of people are now worried about not having enough people to sustain our society, so, which is kind of interesting. So we're going to go over that just so you're aware this lesson is being recorded for learning purposes. And then also, as we are in the live class, just make sure you're following along with the new pod lesson. Use the chat tools respectfully and appropriately, and then also respond to questions and instructions the first time. Okay, before we go over everything, I just want to go over the course real quick. As you can see here with all my courses, you'll probably take a couple from me at Utah Virtual throughout your time there, because I teach quite a few courses. Lesson 1 and lesson 2 recordings, I put these right to the announcement page so you have access to them nice and easy. If we go into course plan, this kind of shows you what is happening and what's going to come up. Oh, that wasn't plan. This is the plan. Calendar. Okay. All right. So we got spring break here that just happened. So we're on the very down stretch of the school year. We have a live lesson today. We actually have 2 assignments due this week. One's a mid-course reflection, which is just basically talking about what you've learned so far in the course. And then the other one is lesson 3 assignment, which we're going to go over today of how to do that. As you see through here, we got a couple more things due. Last thing is really due like mid-May. But I just want to make you aware, if you are a part-time student or going to be graduating fairly soon, you need to make sure that you have everything done probably the first week of May. So everything is open and you can just plow through it. You can just watch the recordings. So for example, if you were to go in here today, if I do have a recording from the last class I did on this, so it doesn't have like the exact dates, but it is the same content, and you can watch this video or you can follow along with the new pod lesson and do the assignments, and these are all unlocked for you. So feel free if you need to, or let's say you're going to be going on a vacation or something like that, go in and just bust these out, what you're going to miss. But today is going to be going over population pyramids, lesson 3 assignment, and the mid-course reflection is what we're going to be doing. Okay. Let me just hit that open there so when we get to that point. Okay. So let's go over kind of the objective of the class today. What we're going to do is, given a population pyramid, students are going to be able to look at that population pyramid. You're going to be able to find the total population. You're going to be able to go to a different website called populationpyramid.net. I'll actually throw that in the chat right now. So if you want to bring it up soon, so that will be readily available to you. And we're going to look at different types of data points and be able to infer things from those, right? For example, what's the trend going to be in the population? Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it staying flat? What happened to this generation? Why are there not as many babies being born as there were before, right? Which gender is more likely to be born, right? It's not actually a 50-50, right? It's not a flip a quarter and, you're either male or female. They actually have it so one gender is more dominant going to be born than another, right? So there's a bunch of different stuff on there that we'll kind of look at. Okay. All right. So somebody else says we have two classes at the same time. You may have two classes at the same time. If that's the case, then you just kind of need to choose one to go to, I guess. All right. Okay, so here we go. So this is what a population pyramid looks like. Okay. So this is from back in 2017. That's a good question. So Alan wrote in the chat, why does Japan have a lower lower in population? Okay. I don't know. We can look at that in a second when we go to the population pyramid of Japan. We can actually look it up and we can find that at the very end. So that will be really good to see the infer those kind of things. Okay. So as we go through here, what you're going to look at, you're going to see the XY graph on here, just kind of like you see maybe in math class. And then on the, let's see here, that's the Y axis as it's coming down here. You're going to see that it has age ranges. So the age range on this one is like at the very bottom, 0 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, all the way up to 100 plus, as you can see. And then the x-axis, as it comes over here, it's kind of broken into two things, and it's broken up into percentage. So it has 0, and then it has 2%, 4%, 6%, and then it's broken out into two things, males and females on the gender scale here. And then it basically has what percentage of the population is children and that kind of stuff. So as you can see here, 0 to 4, right? You know, you have 4.7% male and 4.4% female, right, on the 0 to 4 range. Okay. All right. So somebody else put in the chat, China is trying to convince people to have more kids because the population is majorly shrinking. They messed up on the law for the one kid in the past. Yeah. So you can see where maybe public policy has come into play. For example, you know, with the one-child policy that China used to have. If you're not familiar with what the one-child policy is China was worried about overpopulation, and so what they did is they only let their be able to have one kid. They couldn't have multiple kids, only one kid. And a lot of them wanted to actually have a male to carry on the family name. So if they had a female, they would actually get rid of the female, right? So kind of interesting as we're looking at public policy and these things that kind of affect it, okay? So it's really interesting to look at these graphs. Okay, so what we're going to do is as we look up here on the assignment thing, we're just going to preview it. And it's going to ask you some questions, and you're going to go to certain links and stuff like that. This one's going to ask you like the total population of South America, so you can look at South America. And it has the exact link that you need to go to that will give you the information. And so I'm going to go over that real quick with you on the Nearpod, but this one we're going to go over kind of the world population. So as we look at here, what would be the total population of South America? Well, that's found right at the bottom here. Okay. So in 2017, there was 7.5 billion people in the world. If you look at it now, because this is the most currently updated one, 2023, there's 8 billion. You can see just right here, up here. So kind of interesting. Also, you'll notice that less kids are being born too. which that could cause a problem as things go up, right? So kind of interesting there. And we'll look into different countries and stuff in a second, but it's just interesting how to analyze these. All right, so everybody real quick, if you're on the Nearpod, what you can do is use your tools at the bottom of here and just circle which one, where you find the population. So if I were you in the Nearpod right now, I'd just be able to get right here, go to black, and then I could circle the population. Okay. And then you can submit it. Okay. Yeah, the Nearpod's a little bit older here, so. Okay, sorry, I had to mute myself real quick because my kid came in the room. All right, so that would be looking at the total population and seeing it there. Okay, the next one, as you go to the different websites, you will be able to see on here. So for example, just give the kid an iPad. Yep, he's going to go play the Nintendo Switch. That's what happens when he gets home from school and I'm working. All right, so if you go and you scroll over these real quick, it will actually give you the exact number that you're going to be looking at. So for example, if it was to ask you like a question in the 80 to 84 population, you know, how many females do you have? You can look right here. It said this is, you know, there's 52 million and there's 36 million males. And you notice real quick a little bit here too that females, there's a lot more females as you get older than there are males. But down here, there's more males than there are females, right? So that's something to keep in mind, and maybe something we'll discuss in a second of why there's so many more males, and then about right here is where it switch over to that's tied, and then females, there's more females up there. So, and I'm sorry about my cursor being crazy. I almost feel like I can't use it now. Okay. All right, it stopped, hopefully. All right, so somebody said, how many kids do I have? I have 3 kids. Okay, so that's what it would be on the population period. So you look at it. So you can find the total number of male or female, looking at the category there. This one's asking what's the total number of males in a certain one. And then as we're looking at all these different websites here, okay? So for example, knowing of what you kind of know right now, on the population pyramid, and I just kind of told you a little bit as well, who lives to be older, male or female? According to the world population pyramid. Some countries may be different, right? They're the same. Females, yeah, females seem to get older. So fill in the blank, you should be able to pull it over. So there's, if we look at the world population on there, I'm going to go back to here. It's going to show that females, there's a lot more females that live to be longer than there are males. And so maybe as we're kind of thinking about that, why do you think that maybe, I'm going to go to the next one because that's going to be my next question. You know, why would females live longer than males? Any ideas, a hypothesis, I guess? Okay, just because, no idea. Because men do crazy things. That could be part of it, that men maybe live a harder life, right? They don't care as much about their health. In general, I'm saying in general, there's some that really do care. Maybe have more dangerous jobs, okay? Death rate's higher that way, okay? You have men that go to war, right? Are more into combat. No, now women, they go into war too, but not as high of a rate as men. So you're going to see that on some stuff. So, like for example, let's look into, if you're looking at different things. Let's look at Russia real quick, okay? And I'm saying Russia because think of it this way, right? Russia's been through a lot of wars. There's a lot of things that have happened, right? So think about the Cold War and what they required in the Cold War and World War II. That's this population. Look how many more females there are than males. Yeah, we can do Ukraine next. That would be interesting to look at. You have that here. Here's another thing. The core population is about 25 to 50, right? In here, but there's not very many people being born. So if you look at this rate over here, this is going to tell you that as of right now, their population in Russia is decreasing at quite a significant rate. And for example, by the time in 20, 30, 40 years, they're probably not going to have a country the way that they know it right now because their population's decreasing so much. Somebody said that about China. China's the same way. Somebody said they wanted to do Ukraine. Let's just kind of take a look at Ukraine. Oops. Ukraine, look at this right here. Pretty scary right here where you don't have a lot of people in these age ranges. There's a huge gap right here. So you think about what was going on, right, during this time. We have the war that's going on right now. And these are the age ranges that are fighting the most. And people are fleeing out of the country. As you can see there, they had a huge drop right here, and their population's decreasing significantly as well. Okay, so you can kind of see there, you can hypothesize and kind of see how things, social influences affect things. Okay, so if somebody wanted to look at Japan real quick, and then we'll look at China because China was mentioned too. Look at this. This is the reason Japan. Yep, we'll do the United States. Yep, because it would be interesting to see the United States. You can see a huge decrease on here in Japan. And while they're saying, hey, there's also kind of a cultural norm too of not having as many kids, right? So for example, somebody asked how many kids I have. I have 3 kids, right? So I basically, so we have my wife and I, and so we had 2 kids, which basically took what we had, me and her, and kind of duplicated us, plus we added 1 more, right? And that's what most people had, quite a few kids before. However, they don't, they're not doing that anymore. A lot of people are only having 1 kid or even 2 kids. And then a lot of people are having no kids, right? And you have some that have a lot, but there's not these big families as we're seeing a lot anymore, right? Which is decreasing the population. And so if you look at Japan, they're worried about here because all these people in this area, and sorry about my cursor, in the 45 to 65 range, they're going to hit retirement And all of these people lower, they're supposed to support these upper groups, right? Well, what happens when there's not enough people down here to support there, right? You've got to think of your economy. You got to think of all that stuff. As you can see right here, their population is decreasing. Let's look at China, and then we'll look at the United States, because that was some right there. So we're going to look at China. Okay, remember how they had that one-child policy? Well, look what it's doing now, right? A good population pyramid is like a pyramid, not like something that's inverted. So you can see right here, we're in 2020, their population is going to stalemate, and then it's going to go down, right? Quite drastically. And so they're like, we got to get more people in to be able to run this infrastructure and everything we have. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future here of all this stuff. Let's look at the United States, and you guys can roll through this too. It's populationpyramid.net. Throw this in the chat again. It's going to bring up to China, but you can go here and you can just type in what country you want to look at, right? We're going to go United States of America. Oh, come on. Didn't want to do that. United States of America. All right. As you can see here, we're a little bit more balanced right here in 2020. Our population is supposed to continue to rise, for example, until about 2075, and then it's going to start to plane off, about 400 million people approximately. So the outlook of the United States looks pretty good in regards to population, even though, but the problem is you have all of these people down here, right, that aren't having as many kids. And so that is a big concern if we want things to grow and stuff. So if you look at things like some places in Europe, maybe like Germany, let's look at Germany real quick. Germany is getting completely like an upside down population pyramid, which isn't good, because if you look at it, their populations start going to decrease drastically, right? And I mean, that they're talking about like in 2021 that their population, they're not going to have anything. So as you're looking at upcoming countries, but think of like third world countries like Nigeria, right? Let's look at Nigeria. Look at Nigeria. That's what a population pyramid is supposed to look like, right? Tons of kids being born, increase in population. You know, that's the difference, right? So it's really interesting to see first world countries versus third world countries versus all of these kind of things here. But you can see that the death rate on some of these are pretty high, and they don't live to be very old, right? So, I mean, if you live to be over 50 in some of these African countries, that's good. That means you've lived a good life, right? But if you come back to the United States, you're going to live into your 70s is what it's mostly saying. Okay. All right. So if we come to here, let's go back to the Nearpod. So what you're going to do, you're going to find, ask some certain questions. I'm going to kind of skip some of this stuff. Oops. I wanted to ask you a question, though. I think it was this one. Hopefully this comes up. My Nearpods have been pretty mean lately. Okay. All right. So if you are on the Nearpod, I want you to consider this. We have been throwing things in the chat back and forth. But according to the population pyramid of the world, one gender has a higher population above the 45 than the other gender. Explain what the gender of the higher percentage in the younger years and theorize why it changes to the other. Okay. So for example, I'll just kind of give you what it is because we talked about it. And you can see it right here on the population of the United States, right? So as you can see, more males are being born than females. So the likelihood if you were to have a baby, you're probably going to have a male. So for like, I guess my family is like the rest. So I have one girl and two boys, right? You're more likely to have boys than girls. Just that's how the statistics kind of play out. So as you come here, but after a certain point in time, the females live longer than the males, right? And so if you're thinking about here, why, right? So as I said, because men do crazy things, right? We kind of talked about that. There are more younger males and more older females. I do believe this might be because there's a higher chance you'll be born a male, but they're more likely to do things that will get them killed. Yeah, I mean, you think just biologically, testosterone rolling through men, that kind of stuff, that we're more inapt to do things like that. Good question. I don't know. I'm not a doctor or anything, so I'm not sure. But I just know when they come out that they're more males than females. Males have a higher percentage from females have a higher, I think, because men have been forced to do dangerous stuff, such as go to war. Okay, yep, and that could be it. They maybe put more toll on their bodies. Men sometimes, in general, I'm saying these things in general too, right? I'm not saying like this counts for everybody, but they may be more inclined to do more physical, demanding jobs, that kind of stuff. Yep. Yeah, and Gio, that's interesting that you said that they do show now that more females are getting college degrees than males are, which is interesting that it used to be the other way around, but now it's kind of coming there. Okay. Yeah, so I think there's just like a lot of things, how like girls rule and boys drool. All right. All right, we can have that debate all day. But the facts are the facts, right? So as we're kind of looking at populations pyramids, at least you kind of know what I want you to do is just get a good grasp of what this is kind of like. Let's look at the Western Sahara. That's kind of interesting too. Super interesting. Look at this. There are not very many, all the females like died off at this time, or they weren't born. Something was going on during these times. So then you can go back and look at what was happening during the Western Sahara at this time, right? Pretty interesting stuff. So this is something interesting I want you to look around. But that's your assignment today, is these two things. The lesson 3 assignment, which goes over how to look at a population pyramid, how to read it. The next one is the mid-course reflection, just kind of basically what you've learned over the first 3 units of the course. So, all right. So if you have any questions, please feel free to stay after, and I will be happy to help you. I probably did get an email. Thank you. And I'm more than happy to help you out if you have any questions. But that's our class for today. Remember to get things done by Friday, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys. And maybe we don't need to fight about who's better, guys or girls. You guys are all awesome. See y'all.